The Newsday continues here on One News Now. I'm Charles Lejano. The Cusi faction of PDP Laban says they were not surprised by Senator Manny Pacquiao's upcoming presidential bid under their rival group. In an interview with Radyo 5, PDP Laban Secretary General Melvin Matibag said that despite Pacquiao's nomination, they will continue campaigning for their own candidates, Senator Bongo and President Duterte for 2022.
Hindi na po kami nagulat kasi sa simula pa naman po alam naman namin na yun ang plano nila. Patunayan po, Captain, kaya naman po nagkaroon ng kaguluhan sa PDP Laban dahil nung simulang in-appoint na acting president ng PDP Laban si Senator Pacquiao, alam po namin na yun ang plano nila na gawing standard bearer ng PDP Laban bilang Pangulo si Senator Pacquiao. Yung panahon na yun, wala naman po kami mga pagputol sa hangaring ng Pangulo, pero meron po mga pangyayari na nagbago po yung direksyon.
In the same program, PDP Vice Chairman Lutgardo Barbo from Pacman's faction insisted that enough PDP Laban members agreed to nominate the boxing star as their standard bearer. Barbo added that they are leaving it up to Pacquiao to choose his running mate. That's in contrast to the earlier move of Cusi's faction, who allowed Duterte to choose his presidential candidate.
Ibang-iba sa kanila na binigyan ng authority yung vice president na pumili ng kanyang president. Yung vice president has some personal, selfish, vested interest kasi gusto niyang pumalit. Kung halimbawa si Bongo o kaya kung sino man ang madidiktahan niya, the back door to Malacanang will be open kasi papalitan niya by succession. I think that is the grand tactical plan of Duterte to go back because I think he is afraid of the long arm of the law that might catch up with him, not only in the domestic courts, but especially in the International Criminal Court.
A lawmaker says the Budget Department slashed the DOH's pandemic response fund because the DBM thought there would not be another surge in COVID-19 cases. On One News's agenda, Marikina Representative Stella Quimbo said that the two agencies have a different appreciation of the current health crisis. Quimbo noted that while the Health Department wants to prioritize the pandemic response, the Budget Department failed to take into account the possibility of another COVID-19 case surge. The approved spending plan also does not have a budget allotted for the provision of special risk allowances for health workers.
Palagay ko it's a lack of coordination. Kasi 'di ba, parang hindi mo naman siguro maiaalis sa DOH na nakikita nila yung problema ng health. Pero ang problema naman yung DBM, hindi pareho ang appreciation nila dito sa health problem. So ang pagtingin siguro ng DBM, sige, hindi kayo nag-utilize ng inyong budget last year, so let's do the mechanical thing, isa-slash ko budget mo. Not realizing na hindi naman ganun yun, di ba, pagdating sa COVID. Kasi kailangan malaki ang buffer mo because maraming uncertainties. Within the executive, iba-iba ang appreciation nila sa situation. Di ba? And parang hindi sila nag-uusap-usap.
A group of experts is developing masks and robots and everything in between in a bid to fight the COVID-19 pandemic. Mobile journalist Julie Baiza gives us a front seat to the story.
Five to 7 years. That's how long the pandemic is projected to last, prompting some groups to develop new health devices to help the country's pandemic response. The Sibol, a group comprised of engineers and clinicians from the University of the Philippines, developed protective and disinfecting equipment. One example is the Sanipad, an equipment which helps health workers safely remove their used personal protective equipment.
It's a cubicle para ma-disinfect ang PPE ng mga exposed na healthcare workers or individuals. Kahit makalimutan nilang mag-hand washing or sigurado na ang hawakan nila wala nang pathogens. Well, wala na yung virus.
Sanipad cubicles are fully automated, sealed, and can disinfect from head to foot. Sanipad cubicles are also safer than tents since it automatically disinfects itself after each use. Sibol also developed a reusable face mask that is as efficient as an N95 mask but more economical since one mask may be used for up to 30 times. The mask follows facial features common to Filipinos. This prevents the mask from being too tight or too loose. It also comes in various sizes to accommodate everyone. They also created Clean Intubate, a device which can be used to disinfect laryngoscope blades used in intubation.
Ang cleaning method ay hawakan ng isang tagahugas yung blade, yung instruments na yan. So ang gusto nilang mangyari, pagkatapos gamitin, papasok na lang dun sa device, automatic na yung disinfection niya and cleaning.
The group notes that plenty of health workers acquire COVID-19 after cleaning the devices used by patients. UP Sibol also designed My Beshi or My Bot, a robot that helps connect patients in isolation to their relatives and medical professionals.
Yung My Beshi, nandun lang siya sa tabi ng pasyente anytime na gusto niya makausap yung family.
Almost all of these devices are pending patent, made by Filipinos for Filipinos to help the public stay safe and for those infected to achieve fast recovery. Mobile Journal Julie Baiza, We Are One News.
At what age did you decide to become a Pokemon trainer and catch them all? The iconic Japanese media franchise has just turned 25 years old, and it is a celebration for both the young and the young at heart. But how exactly did the Pokemon franchise turn into a $100 billion empire? Let's get details from Bloomberg's Nate Langston.
Pokemon, the highest grossing media franchise of all time, just turned 25 years old. I'm Nate Langston, and I'm going to explain how Bulbasaur and his friends helped build a $100 billion empire. Nintendo published the first Pokemon game on its Game Boy consoles in the spring of 1996, exclusively in Japan. But it was 6 years earlier that it was conceived by Satoshi Tajiri, a game developer in Tokyo whose childhood hobby was searching for and capturing insects and beetles in the wild. He'd wanted to be an entomologist, but after becoming involved in a nascent gaming industry, decided he wanted to recreate his childhood passion for exploring nature, but for modern city-bound children. The specific moment of inspiration, he said, was when he saw it was possible to link two of Nintendo's Game Boy consoles together with a cable. He pictured one of his beetles walking back and forth across the wire, and lo, Pokemon was conceived. It took another 6 years to develop what would become the first Pokemon games, Pocket Monsters Red and Green, as they were known in Japan, and at the time there wasn't a great deal of confidence that it would be a hit. But Nintendo shifted more than 8 million copies of Pokemon in 2 years, becoming the company's biggest ever seller in its home country. The concept of having to capture 150 unique items, the Pokemon themselves, gave the game stickiness. Strategies and trading by connecting the two Game Boys together became a focal point in schoolyards, more so when it turned out there was 151st Pokemon hidden in the game's code. That buzz led to an animated series being ordered, which began airing in 1997 and brought the characters and settings of the game to screens. About 1,200 episodes have now aired, nearly double that of The Simpsons. By 1998, with a few million more copies of the first Pokemon games sold for the Game Boy, Nintendo and Game Freak, which develops the Pokemon games, also wanted to launch them into the Western market. So they simultaneously exported the animated Pokemon TV show and the first English language release of the Game Boy games to the US to support each other, and released a new game, Pokemon Stadium, exclusively for the Nintendo 64 in Japan. Any Game Boy owners who wanted more Pokemon in their life would have to buy the company's other console. Both strategies were super effective. Pokemon Stadium sold 1 million copies in a month in Japan, becoming one of the best-selling games on the N64. It was also eventually released in the West, where the N64 sold better anyway, and where the simultaneous release of the English-language Pokemon game and companion TV series meant Pikachu and pals were impossible to ignore. Over the following 2 decades, the franchise has generated more than $90 billion, according to some analysts. That's more than Harry Potter, Star Wars, or Mickey Mouse and Friends, despite the surreal nature of Pokemon's core characters. Culture of fandom, merchandise, edible tributes, music videos, and more exist around just this one Pokemon and its unique lack of redeeming characteristics, and the same is true for many of the hundreds of other Pokemon, for as many reasons. Now, Pokemon's value can't be measured in the trillions of dollars like the aforementioned Amazon can, but for investors and executives alike, it's a brand that can do very little wrong, much like Nintendo itself.
Here's a quick look at some of today's headlines. Vice President Leni Robredo says she's willing to go head-to-head against her rival Bongbong Marcos. The former senator decides to run for president. An infectious disease expert warns there's not enough evidence yet supporting the efficacy of so-called COVID-19 nasal sprays. And Carlo Biado ended the 27-year drought for the Philippines with a stunning victory in the 2021 U.S. Open Pool Championship. And those are the top stories at this hour. Join us again later at 1 p.m. as we continue to monitor the day's biggest stories. You can also catch One News on Signal Play. Register for a free account now at www.signalplay.com so you can stream One News live anytime, anywhere. I'm Charles Lejano. Mask on, wash hands, and stay safe, Philippines. We are One News.